Hello and welcome. My name is Olga Chwa, and I'm here to guide you in some simple movements. Thanks for making this time to care for yourself. This is Valentine's Day here in North America. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to support this channel. Sure, there's various histories of how this day came to be, but for today, I invite you to lean into that loving aspect and lean into that self-loving aspect. Let this be a day that you are your own Valentine. And we'll do a little bit for the heart. We'll do a little bit for the breath, of course, that is closely related to the heart. But begin with just an arrival here of feeling the body, landing upon the earth, getting whatever you need around you to be cozy, to be settled. To invite stillness, to invite a moment of pause. While your heart keeps beating, you can count on that the heart will beat. You might even listen to that heartbeat. If the heart is racing, you might say some kind words to the heart, some soothing words to your own heart. Nourish it with your breath. And welcome your whole self to this practice. Welcome your feet and your ankles and your legs and hips and the buttocks, the whole pelvis there. Welcome the spine and the back and the belly, the chest and the shoulders. Welcome the arms and the hands. Notice where they are. Are they at their most comfortable? Can they be softer? Can they be open? Receptive, receiving. And the softness in the neck and jaw. And letting the face be smooth. Welcoming your whole self to this practice and checking in with yourself how you're feeling today. Perhaps you feel rested, perhaps you feel energized and you're ready for some movement, and perhaps you're feeling tender and introverted and you'd like to stay quiet and inwardly, and that's welcome as well. Let me assure you that you are here in perfection. There is no wrong way to be, no wrong way to move your body. The suggestions I make are invitations to explore and to feel the different things, and some of them might be worth repeating and some of them might not be for you, and that's all good. So you're making your decisions as you feel into the breath, as you feel into the moment here, feeling the heartbeats at the center of your body. And maybe choosing one of these rhythms, maybe your heartbeat rhythm, maybe your breath rhythm, as your rhythm for any movement that's to come. We'll move through the joints in the body as we've done many weeks now. And those of you who've been attending regularly, you know the sequence more or less, you know what we do. Whether you're sitting or lying down, we'll begin with the feet. You might be sitting in the chair, you might be sitting on the floor, you might be lying down. Wherever you are, your feet are somewhere that you can notice. Take your awareness, your attention there. Noticing your feet, and when you're ready, you'll close down the toes, crunch them down into little foot fists, and then you'll spread them back and open. And letting that come forward and back a few times with the toes there, closing and opening your feet for a moment. Forward and back, spreading the big toe apart from the smaller crew, giving your toes a little extra advanced toe movement, and letting the toes continue their exploration, continue their fanning out, their spreading out as you make that into a movement of the ankle. Inversion and eversion, soles towards each other, soles away from each other. Back and forth a few times. And connecting all those movements, the toe movements and the ankle movements and larger movements with the ankles, drawing circles while moving the toes. You might move the feet around and around while the toes explore where they fit into the mix. Folded forward, bent back. Try one thing, try the other. A rotation with folded toes, a rotation with spread out toes, one direction, the other direction. Toes and ankles alive for your exploration for this moment. And then the stillness, and then the rest, letting them stop. Let's stay with the ankles for just a few more moments, doing infinity symbols, a little more complicated movement. Infinity symbols, or maybe a figure eight. If your foot prefers a figure eight, that's another option, but you're kind of making these two loops in one movement, and then switching that direction, reversing that into a backward direction. Clockwise, counterclockwise, one direction, the other direction. And stillness and rest. Check how you're propped up or seated. If you are seated, check if there's anything you might do to be more comfortable. If you're lying down, same thing. Even after just moving those toes, you might find that the legs want to be slightly adjusted and repositioned to optimize your comfort there, to optimize the ease. And you have a choice to move one leg independently and then the other, or both together with the knee movements, beginning with just a little closing and opening. One leg at a time will be easier, right? You've got a support leg and a less of a weighting, a weight to bear for the muscles. Closing and opening the knees. Option to do both together. Much more demanding for core strength, a little more balance oriented. So picking your game here with the knee of a bending and an opening. And part of that is feeling through what this joint is experiencing. And if you've got great knees, you can do this quickly and efficiently. And if you've got a knee that maybe gives you some trouble, some caution, you might slow that down. You might get really curious about where is it comfortable? Where does it give a response? Is that movement smooth? Is it even? And we'll split the legs up, even if you were lifting and lowering both together. For the horizontal, just choose one to draw a little dash, a little minus sign. That's going to include the hip. That's going to be a little rotation in the knee, but you might feel more of it through the socket of the hip. And that helps us establish the points to create a rotation, to do a circle with the foot, letting this joint move all the way around. And a clockwise and a counterclockwise. If you've got the energy to keep going, keep drawing all the beautiful things you know how to draw with your foot, a figure eight. Draw an infinity symbol, a four-leaf clover. Let your leg be the pencil there, and then reverse that direction, right? Anything that goes in one direction has a forward and a backward direction. Get both directions and give it a rest. Give it a rest and a comparison. Give it a moment of attention, noticing what's happened on the one side that hasn't yet happened on the other side. How does that feel? How do those legs find their grounding? How do you rest after that movement? All right, so you hopefully did the open and close. So we're on to the horizontal on the second side, that dash. Establishing the points to connect the dots and move round and round, all around. In two directions, right? We've got the clockwise and the counterclockwise. And from there, wiggles and squiggles, figure eights, infinities, four-leaf clovers, Celtic knots. Pay attention to the direction that you're going. Notice your choices And in a moment that feels right, you'll reverse. You'll go backwards, come back from where you came, tracing that same path in the opposite way. Oh my, I'm hearing little clicks and clicks from my knee, which I'm welcoming in the hopes that it'll feel even more comfortable. I've found myself sitting more than I used to in past years, and my knees are letting me know that sedentariness is not our best friend. Movement is what keeps this body at least conditioned and happy. So after you've done the movements with the knees and giving yourself a break, our next joint pair are the hips, and in the same way, you might lift and lower the leg in a straight manner. If you're lying down, that becomes more of a core strengthening practice, engaging the rectal muscles here, rectus abdominis. You might choose to bring a bent leg up, and that might be a little more gentle, more comfortable. And if you are practicing in a chair or seated, the focus is on the hip, about lifting and lowering the hip up and down a few times, and then making that into a rotation. Two choices here. When the leg is bent, that's a little lighter for the body. If you keep the pencil tip, if you will, as the knee, or the laser pointer, that the knee is drawing the circle, it's going to be a little lighter on the leg. You might choose to make the foot that pencil tip, that laser pointer. It's going to be a heavier lever. It's going to be more responsibility on the muscles. It's going to be heavier, more of a strengthening practice. So making a decision based on what you know will be helpful to your body. A little gentle, more loosening practice, more bringing the resources in their practice, or a strengthening practice. So I get in there and bear the weight, give the responsibility to the leg. So making that choice on one side. And ideally doing something similar. And if you're practicing as I am, you might be also combining a little bit of that warm up, that loosey-goosey, warming it up with the leg bent. And as that joint becomes awake and accessible, I might give it a little more demanding practice, that straight leg, core strengthening format. Let's play with those hips. Round and around. And then we'll take them in several directions from there. If you are on your back and you're completing these movements, your next places to go will be knees to the left, knees to the right. A few breaths, no hurry, no rush. And then the option of knees out and internal rotations, knees in. So we've got 4 places to go: left, right, outside, and inside. Take your time, breathe in each of these places for as long as the body's welcoming and enjoying those stretches. And if you're choosing to do this sitting up, that's also an option. You're letting the whole body twist then. You're letting the knees come to the side. You're welcoming the effects wherever your body is responding around the pelvis there. And then as you switch the sides, you're letting your whole body rotate around. So however you're choosing this practice, lying down or sat up, you're making it your own. You're making this about a greeting to the hip, an attention to the hip, a curiosity. What does the hip need today? How does the right hip feel? How does the left hip feel? They might have some very different feelings and needs. And as you find these different positions, you explore, you make it a puzzle. Where else could this feel good? Where else might it be better? How can I make this more pleasant? Is it maybe a higher position, a lower position at the hips, at the knees? Where are the moving parts that I can adjust? to find the sweetest spot, the one that gives me that access to that part that feels stuck maybe or tense. And that might be stillness. You might find that place to surrender, and that might be a movement. That might be a dynamic, exploring, reaching. In these 4 directions, to the left, to the right, to the outside, like a butterfly, soles together if you're bringing your both knees out. And then the counterpart to the inside, wide feet, whether you're sitting or lying down. It's good to start with one at a time to that internal rotation. Gently on the both. And taking the next few moments with your hips, any other hip things that you love. Some of you might bring in a figure 8 stretch here, or a rocking the cradle stretch, giving your hips whatever your hips love for the next minute. Send your hips those Valentines cards. What would just delight your hips in the next 3-4 minutes with your attention, your breath, your awareness. As we finish up these movements, and the hips might appreciate a little more at the knees or at the ankles. So you give your lower body the next 20 to 30 breaths. Thank you, hips. Thank you, legs. And when you've gotten that, when you feel satisfied at the hips, give yourself stillness. Give yourself a moment of rest, of reset. Just checking in with your whole body, letting everything drop off its efforts, drop its engagements, and be still, be soft. Let the earth hold the body completely. In just a moment, we'll keep going with hands and arms and into the shoulders. So as you take the next 5 or 6 breaths, take a moment to redirect the awareness into the arms, into the hands. And you can stay exactly where you are. If lying down is where you are, that's a pretty good choice. If sitting up feels like a good idea, this is the moment. And with these arm practices, I'll have them visible for you, but you can put them anywhere you want. You can keep them down low. You can reach them up somewhere in a place that feels good to you. And we'll begin by the fists, bringing the thumbs in and wrapping the fingers around them a few times. And I invite you to keep exploring what else is possible. Can the palms be an orientation that's maybe something new, maybe facing upward, maybe even twisted to face outward? What are some ways to freshen this up, to refresh, making a fist and opening the fingers in your body? Three or 4 times, and sometimes that little pump at the end can help the fluids keep moving through the arms. Let's fold 1 finger at a time. The thumb, hey, that one's easy enough. 1, 2, 3 times in, and then the index finger. In my body, it takes a few fingers along with it. Some of you might have more isolation capacity. Playing the game, each finger comes down and pops back up 3 times. 3 times in, 3 times out. Yep. Closing and opening just the knuckles a few times. Beautiful. And then just letting the fingers dance around and shimmy. So our hands are, in my opinion, very connected to the heart. And from what I know from my studies in anatomy and human development is that embryologically speaking, when we're developing, in utero. It's some of the same cells that are right here at the heart that grow, because we contract and grow a few cells right from that central line, and our arms grew out of the same set of cells as our hearts. So as you practice with your hands, as you give attention to the hands and the wrists, moving into the wrists next, keep that awareness of the whole wingspan of this whole layer of the body that includes the shoulders and the heart, the shoulder blades, moving your wrists. Again, in different orientations, where can you direct those palms? And then we can mix it all up, right? Bring it all together in a rotation or a circumduction. Same thing though, the hand moves around, but those orientations can change. Rotations with the palms facing up, rotations with the palms facing out. What can you do? What can you discover? Rolling those hands around, and from circles to infinity symbols. Oh, did we change directions? Clockwise and counterclockwise? Am I speeding here? 2 directions and then infinity symbols. Loop-de-loops, figure eights. In one direction, in another direction. Rolling that around and giving your arms a rest. Before moving on to the elbows and shoulders, feel what you've done. If you've been working as hard as I've been working, you might feel some warmth, you might feel some responses in the hands and the arms. And as you bring the attention up to the next joint here, the elbows, find a direction to lengthen the arms and then to fold them. So closing at the elbows, and that might be in front of you, that might be out to the sides, right? A couple different options. You might even like to reach above. See where your arms want to be. So just open and close the elbows a few times. So encouraging the shoulders to be steady. It might even be easier in some ways than others. You might find, where is it the easiest? Where do you feel some of that work in a different way? And then stopping halfway in a right angle for the rotation. A couple orientations here again. You might be spinning something vertical, like a dryer, and a front load dryer there. You might be mixing in a cauldron and a pot here, and a hole in the ground and a bucket. And you might be mixing that up in the sky, like moving the blades of a ceiling fan with your fingers. And change direction. Do 3 or 4 circles in one direction, switch that direction. And then from the circles to the more complicated shapes, infinities, figure eights, letting these elbows dance around, and you're following the sensations. I notice when I move my elbow in one way, I get a little tug, and so I want to repeat that, see if I can get it to stretch out, to warm up, keeping it in mild discomfort, right? Not something that's sharp, not something that's painful, but something that gets my attention. And I think, oh, it'd be nice to lengthen that out, to get that to lengthen out and give me some space in that elbow socket. So dancing around and then giving it a rest. Fingers, wrists, and elbows feeling warm, hopefully, as the attention comes up to the shoulders. Roll those around a few times. We'll get the hands up there in just a moment, but give your shoulders just a little welcome, a little, where are they available to go today? And with your fingertips on your shoulders, if that's available to you, bring the elbows towards each other in the front and apart towards each other back in the back. A few times, if that's available. You might make that real isolated about the shoulders. You might even have one arm that's saying, I need to focus on this. You might have an arm that's asking you for special attention, and that's welcome. And you might also make this about the whole spine. You might make this into a sitting cat pose. So doing here what your spine and your body are needing, are wanting. We'll get on the floor in just a moment for the rest of the spine, for these cat maneuvers. There's no harm in warming them up. off the top. That's right. From here, finding the rotations, you might do both together, you might split them up. Circles clockwise and counterclockwise, between 3 and 5, maybe 6 or 7 if they feel especially helpful. Spinning those elbows around to create the movement. And from the circles, we follow with squiggles, figure eights, infinities. And keep in mind that those have 2 directions. And what goes forward can go backward. And you know your body, you know if you have a side that's dominant or a side that's achy, and so you can give that side that feels like it needs more attention an extra round. And then you might do both together to compare them, to feel how they're similar, how they're different. Let's keep going with the arms. If you have it in you to bring an arm over the top of the chest there, scoop it up with its opposite buddy to give a good shoulder stretch. I don't know if you heard that pop coming out of my shoulder. Lengthening out. And as you explore some of the other movements within the bigger movements, seeing how you can access some of the subtle ways that our bodies are connected to each other, to themselves. Over the top, if you have the capacity to bring elbows in the elbow, that might even be a thing to lift and lower in this position. And some of you flexible type, lean the hands towards each other in the back or actually twist them up. So if you've got some of those capacities, let that be a game of the back going down, the shoulders going down, and the front coming up. Up and open. And as the front feels satisfied, as that reaching forward stretches the back, right? You're opening the back in this twist. And so reversing that, hands join in the back, the shoulder blades are encouraged to approach one another, opening through the front, through the collarbones, the breastbone, lifting the top of the chest as the shoulder blades come together, and adjusting for comfort with the neck or playing, giving the neck an opportunity to find something for the base of the neck there. Arms forward, arms back. As you take the next moment or two to give your shoulders the ultimate and the best that you've got for your shoulders. What do they love? We're going to focus on the neck for the four movements, and then we'll keep it moving on the floor. So as you finish up with your shoulders, notice what you feel there. Notice how you can sit in a way that keeps the shoulders stacked over the hips, so the spine is minimally burdened and the head way on top there, supported for a slow motion. Yes, a slow motion. Lengthen the back of the neck and lengthen the front of the neck. Let the eyes move up and down a few times. Looking up, looking down. As that's satisfied, side to side, ear towards the shoulder, left and right. As you're reaching over, there might be other wiggles in there. There might be ways to access parts of the neck that are calling for that attention. So as we slow this down and you bring your awareness to the needs that your neck has. You're letting those movements bring you the satisfaction and the pleasures that you welcome. Slow motion, yes. Slow motion, I don't know. In a slow motion, no. Turning the head to look behind, left and right. Same thing, you find where you're going or almost there, maybe even a little out of that depth. And exploration is welcome. Exploration, little movements, little tugs, little reaches, finding your next pleasures. Our yes, our maybe, our no, and then all that comes together for a rotation. You might roll your head. You might enjoy that practice. And this is your body, of course, and there's no wrong way to move, but you might also enjoy a more conservative, sort of upright, as if you're drawing a circle with the nose on a piece of paper right in front of you, upright. And slowing that down, making that slow as the awareness and the attention can follow the individual muscle fibers. To the left, to the right, to the right, to the left. In the two directions and into stillness and into pause and breath. Feeling through all of the joints. We'll move on in just a moment. If you're ready to switch position, you might be shifting into your cat pose, but you might have a moment of just enjoying all this energy moving through your body, having moved all the joints. The joints, I do believe, are the factories of prana, of life force. Our moving parts are where we can create something energetic in our bodies. So allowing that energy to move through your body as you've invigorated all the major joints. So let's keep going with the spine. If you've got a comfortable spot where you are to be on the hands and knees, that's the invitation to get there. And this can also be practiced in a chair. So if you're not a floor model, no worries. You might set yourself up in a place where you've got space behind you. We're looking for a chair that isn't going to restrict the movement to the back. Classic beginning, warming up the spine by forward and backward bend, lifting head and tail, lowering, scooping head and tail. And letting this body move. In ways that are organic and comfortable and welcome to you. That might mean kind of a hula hoop thing with the hips. That might mean letting the elbows be soft as you do this sort of up and down, organic, wiggle, squiggle. Noticing what your body needs, and if you are working with the shoulder, you might do some things with exploring the distance of the hand forward, ways to get stretching sort of into the underarm and the side of the body by that further arm position. So this might be some access for some of you with the upper bodies that are needing it. And if it's your hips and your lower bodies that are calling for attention, oh, there's my chair. You might reach with the leg. You can lift that leg, but lower the hip. That helps get in the sacroiliac joint. Notice the facing of the toes can be experimented with, and using the floor as a way to get into some of those delicate areas that are maybe hard to stretch with these pure explorations, letting the weight move around on the supporting parts. So you feel the hands, I've got the hands, I can let the weight sort of roll around, not too heavy on the foot there, because my hands are supporting. And seeing what you need there, whether it's the front of the body, the top body, the arms, the shoulders, or the lower, the back, the hips. Seeing what else you need. Where else does this body call for attention, call for warmth, call for movement? And from here, we will progress upwards as you feel complete with spine and with cat, and with whatever variations you've had for your needs there. Toes tuck under when you're ready to pop the hips up into a inversion here, the downward dog. Might be a floor thing for you, might be a thing you do against the wall or holding on to the chair to not go as deeply, to not be as upside down. Finding the variation that's appropriate in your body and giving yourself a few minutes in there. Up if it feels good, up and down and resting if that's what's more welcome or available. As this body moves upward and upward from the downward dog to a standing position, we'll do a number of things here on our feet. Beginning with finding a standing position, beginning with a moment of arrival in upright human form. As you come to standing, let a bit of exploration be with you in the forward and the back. Balance as your weight on your toes? Is it more on the heels? And can you balance it in the middle? Can you find in between, not so much in the feet, but up in the upper body, right? Depending on where your shoulders are, you're going to feel that in your feet. So take a moment to find that forward back. The side to side, left side, right side. Noticing if the ankles are going inward or maybe you're supporting with the outer edges of the feet. So rolling through the ball of the foot there from the little toe to the big toe, finding the center there. And seeing how the rest of the body aligns and organizes as you establish that solid footing, as the feet find their steadiness and that equal balance, front to back, inside to outside, left to right. Knees soft. Bring the hands together, interlacing the fingers to reach up. And rise onto the toes if that's available for you, if a lift is there in your feet. Holding a breath or two if that's available, lengthening and reaching. Try it at least 3 times, maybe up to 8. Up and down. Just step wider. And give the body its sideways movements, lateral flexion, with or without the arms. You may include that hand into the armpit engagement. You might reach an arm way overhead. You might have the arms interlaced as you rock your body to the sides. And you might try that with the hands behind the body. Oh, we didn't do the elbows towards each other. If you are doing this, the hands behind the body, you might find that the hands can rest there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Spine can come to center, and the elbows can go towards each other. I'll show you from the back. So if I were going the other way, I'd lean over, I'd put my hands up there, I'd straighten my spine up, and then the elbows can approach one another, giving an extra stretch between the shoulder blades. Using the side bend as an additional access to our shoulders, opening the chest, opening this front here. We're coming back to that heart-centeredness, heart openness on this Valentine's Day. So from the side bends, we'll move into a standing twist as you complete that side-to-side movement, and any extra shoulder stuff, find your length and expansion and reach in a great big shape to wrap that around to the right, to the left. Fast if you like fast. Slow if you prefer slow. And maybe trying it a whole different way. If you've always done it fast, try it slow today. If you've done it slow, try it a little faster. Why not? Explore and experiment. Let this be fresh. Let this be living. As you get those sides and the twist, we're going to stay with our big open wide position. We're going to do a few little different things than we've done before. Often I've had you bring your feet together. Keep them wide for the backward and forward bend today. And we're going to add a diagonal. So with the wide footed position, same thing for the back bend. You might have your hands on your back for that support to lean back. You might be comfortable reaching them out. Soften the knees as you go down, and some of you might have just a little thing you do. Some of you might go deeper. When the feet are wider, the floor is a little closer. So you might find yourself reaching the area of the toes faster. And then let's do that diagonal. The hands, if they're down there, they walk towards just one foot. Hanging out on one side, giving your back of that leg a little special attention. What you do to the right, do also to the left, and vice versa. At least two rounds, coming up in a gentle way, a soft way, a steady way. If you're doing a smaller forward bend, not so deep, same thing. You can be in the middle for a few breaths and then over to one side. Giving that a diagonal treatment. Oblique muscles working here, internal and external obliques of the abdominal set. Stretching some of the guys back here like quadratus lumborum, as well as the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. As you add these diagonal reaches. From your wide position. And you might keep going if you're comfortable where you are and you're complete with these forward-backward combinations, backward-forward combinations. You might turn and pivot so that you're facing as if in a running or a walking position, and I'll reorientate myself so that I'm 90 degrees to where I was, squaring my hips to the narrower side versus the open side. And that's something to also begin with as you come into this position. Before we get fixated, I sometimes tell you to look and focus, but let your head and your whole spine be free to begin with, so that you're You're actually taking a whole orientation. The feet are steady, but you do let the hips and the shoulders and the head move. So you're looking all across the horizon. If you've arrived to your hunting place, if we are playing the bow and arrow game, you're checking out the whole area in front and behind you, to the right and to the left. And then you're going to focus in that one direction. Pick up the bow and arrow. Draw the arm as you reach up through the back of the neck. The elbow goes back. And you're making choices with the hips. The hips can open out if that is invited, if your body says yes to that. But they can also stay inward, right? This could be really about the upper body and the shoulder, making this movement pleasant and therapeutic for yourself. If there's some part of you that feels benefits from this, get in it. Give your body those benefits in those subtle ways that you feel in your experience. To one side, and with due time, you'll take that to the opposite side with that same invitation to first look all around to make that an opening through the ribs and the waist and the hips. Feeling what's happening with the pelvis in these arrivals. And after you've done 5 or 6 like that open you, that let you scan the whole horizon, you're surveying. How far can you see? Can you see all the way around? 360 degrees to the right and to the left? Can you see the same landmarks? And then once you know that you're in a place that it's safe for you to focus, to grab your bow and arrow, to focus your gaze, you fix the eyes in one point for this bow and arrow practice. Eyes don't move, but the hips have a choice. The shoulders definitely move, right? That elbow goes back and the chest opens. And you figure out what you need with the hips to make it yours. And we've been reaching the arms in front there, but you might also do something that's not a bow and arrow. You might lift, maybe you've got some beautiful flags, some banners that you're lifting in the wind to show on the one side. You might do that. Anything you do on one side, try it also on the other side, seeing how they're different. Noticing what the front leg needs. You might bend a little bit to the front knee, letting the weight come onto the toes a little more. If that's welcome, if that's invited, and noticing how the hips are responding. Where does the pelvis want to go? Where do the shoulders need to be to make this nourishing for you, to make this delicious, to make this helpful for your body? Try it on one side, try it on the other side. We're reaching and inviting these spaces, these expanses. And noticing what else you might need. We've got a balance ahead of us, at least. You'll have a moment to do any personal fine-tunement, fine-tuning. Yep. And as you finish these front and back movements, these reaching movements, let's find ourselves in a place to balance. Balancing on one foot by finding the balance on both feet. So as you did in the beginning, as you first stood up, well, not way beginning, but a few minutes ago. So find again that same invitation of the forward and the back, the weight on the heels, the weight on the toes. Finding that center point, not just in the feet, but through the whole body, and the stacking there of the physics, right? This is architecture. Knees over the ankles, hips over the knees, shoulders over the hips. And the head over the shoulders. Letting the weight shift to just one foot, finding the whole body resting on one foot so the other foot can elevate, can come up off the earth. And that might be your moment of balance. It might be lifting of the leg. You might have the balance to move it out to the side. Your arms might come up with some support positions. And you might also play with the variation of the foot behind. So we have all kinds of places, to the front, to the side, to the back. And this is really the invitation and the opportunity to defy gravity, to move away from the earth. You're lifting up, you're lifting away. You've just got one foot on the ground. It's solid, it's rooted in there, but the rest of you is bracing, it's lifting, it's engaging, almost as if you were going to fly on the one side and the other. Awesome. At least 2 rounds with the balances, at least 2 attempts, 2 bold attempts, at least. On the right, on the left, on the left, on the right. As you find your balance, as you find that satisfaction on both sides, check in with your body and what else you might need. We're going to take about 2 minutes for you to do whatever else your bodies are needing or wanting. We're going to move into a breathing practice, a little breath work. Continuing as we did last week with the breath for the upper chest, for this expanse of the heart space. All in just a moment, and then we'll wrap things up with a nidra. But for now, you've got the invitation to always to rest. That is always an option. If you feel complete, do not push yourself. Do not force anything. Give yourself that rest. But if there's some part of you that's saying, oh, I wish we did some jumping jacks, or I wish we did a big twist laying on the floor, this is your moment. This is the opportunity to do that thing that you love to do with your body. Your body's warmed up from all these joint movements. You might even try something wild, like a triangle or a warrior pose, if you like those yoga things, or something dynamic, like a sequence of salutations. Giving yourself this moment just for you, just for your body. Like the best friend that you can be on this Valentine's Day, to this vessel, this object that we navigate life inside of. And given our bodies here at conception, for our earth walk, for our time on earth. Beautiful, finalizing your movements with no rush and no hurry. Wherever you are in this process, you are perfect. If you are resting, you are turning your awareness to the breath and ensuring your body's greatest comfort. You are doing whatever you need to do to keep your body supported and warm, and with a bit of cushion, hopefully, something soft up and under you. And keep in mind that there's no wrong position ever for any of these practices, and you might have a habit of doing it on your back with the palms up, and that might work for you. That might be lovely. But you might want to try something else, or you might want to try something subtle, like putting the hands on the body, or even doing something radical, like rolling over to the side and practicing in a completely different position than you ever have before. And notice how you feel. Notice what you've collected from this experience. Some good feelings, maybe, some reset. And I'm so glad that you were able to practice with us. Thank you for joining the class live on Zoom. Thank you for being here later if you're joining us on YouTube. The classes are live twice a week now, Mondays and Wednesdays. That information's on my website at olgachwa.com. That's in the comments there. And I look forward to seeing you in any future weeks. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and leave a comment about your experience. And while you're here, please subscribe to my channel and opt in for notifications to catch the next class I upload. And then head over to olgachwa.com to join in a live event or to work one-on-one with me. I'm here to help.